She asked for something.
The freeze and the signature and
I'm pretty sure Craig has it, but I don't know. How? Well,
I started, they're always telling me, and I started, I must have started that last
Enter your access code. Enter your attendee ID. You are the first person to join the meeting. Please stand by.
Exactly.
is that one on?
This isn't working.
Would you change the frequency?
Enjoy it.
What frequency are they on? That's because you pressed the wrong button.
I didn't know there was different frequencies. There you go.
How are you? Good, how are you? Yes.
One of these two?
My granddaughter and her fiance are flying down for something. Get out of the house.
States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Okay, roll call.
Trustees Anderson. Here. Rickstraw.
Absent.
Adams.
Here.
Wojcicki, absent. Veer.
Here.
2 absent, 3 attending.
Okay. Is there any public comment tonight? Oh, I'm sorry. I need to list.
Do we have any public comment from the call-in? Do we have any call-in public comment at this time? Any public comment?
He's going to have to do one.
Go ahead, Craig. No comment from the public call-in.
You better talk.
Okay, first one I have on the list is Mike Fowler. And remember, you're limited to 3 minutes. Maybe back off.
Evening, gentlemen, and what an evening it is. About time this...
Mike, just turn it off. You don't.
Good now? Yes, maybe? All right. About time this all came... Yep, there it goes.
It's because you're on.
About time this all came to an end. Last one. I just want to point out real quick, I've been watching your budget hearings, and Stan, you had asked a question of Bob about if we're going to see a reduction from Harrison School levy, and Bob told you you just didn't notice it. Well, I have here the minutes from the Harrison School District, and they raised the levy by 2.94%, just to let you know. You were right.
I just noticed that on my tax bill last week. It actually went up.
Yep. For the rest of you, Bob, Mike, Steve, your legacy. 2018, vote to consolidate the road district into the township. Lost. 68% to 31%. Non-binding question to keep the township bus. Lost. 85% to 14%. Vote to dissolve Mchenry Township. Lost. 78% to 21%. Vote to consolidate the road district into the township at step 2. Lost. 81% to 18%. This is your legacy. This is what you will be remembered for. Nothing but failures. And we are all better off because of it. Thank you.
Linda Toller.
I like your hat.
Linda Toller, Wonder Lake. Isn't it a beautiful evening? And with each passing day until the 17th, it just gets more and more stunning. Mr. Veer, I could waste my whole 3 minutes pointing exactly how hypocritical every single one of your requested items on the agenda tonight are, but frankly, you're no longer worth my time. Tonight I speak to those of you being sworn in on the 17th. Please, if you haven't already, watch all of the meetings for the past year. Take notes on the actions of 3 of the board members. This is what not to do. Please listen to your township. We will be honest with you as long as you're honest with us. We will be civil with you as long as you're civil with us. We will show you respect if you show it to us. Do not continue a pointless war against those who elected you. Do not waste our time and our money chasing your own goals and ideals. And to all the wonderful members of this township, this amazing community that cares for its less fortunate and in need, Take a deep breath and congratulate yourselves on the war we've waged for the past 4 years so far. But do not let your guard down. History has shown that people who abuse power given to them will find ways to attempt to achieve their goals even after said power has been stripped from them. We've won a decisive battle, but the war goes on. Together, I believe we will have victory in the future. Together, we are strong. Together, we can make this township everything we want it to be. Don't let these three live rent-free in your hearts. Learn from their mistakes and move past them. I'm proud to be a member of Mchenry Township, and I can't help but be optimistic about the future we're working towards. One we can all take part in, regardless of political affiliation, religion, gender, age, status, or financial standing. A township by the people, for the people, and of the people. Our township, may she stand firm and fair for all time.
Dorothea King.
I muted it.
I have always come here delighted to see the beautiful people of Mchenry Township. Tonight, once again, I am full of gratitude and thankfulness. Faces I see in front of me. I'm going to talk about 3 gratitudes I have: the past, the present, and the future. Luckily, we moved to Mchenry Township when it was still under vibrant leadership, people who had vision and who cared. We were introduced to the entire community by this beautiful gem of a newsletter. We immediately knew that there was something exciting happening. We had a way to tap into the community. We didn't know about any of this until these newsletters started arriving. We immediately came to the township. We went to seminars that Mary Mahady presented and other people. We learned, we connected. It was incredible. This was a beautiful thing. The people who were here with vision and caring gave to the community. Present. 4 years of creativity, energy, organizing, educating among the people I see in front of me. And I really, really appreciate that. It was hard. We saw profiles in courage during all the testimonies standing at this podium. We were all educated, we learned. And the future. I want to thank all of the candidates who've been willing to run for office, those who won and those who did not win. We have confidence they will continue to educate so we can support them and each other to create the community we deserve. I'm going to wrap this up with a vision that was in front of me all the time this year, these past 4 years. This is not the gratitude, but I'm glad I have this clarity. I got to see people who think they know the price of things, but don't know the value of anything. And I thank all of you who see the value.
Laura, I can't make it. Kajitsa.
Hi, Laura Kajita, Mchenry, Illinois. I'm going to just comment about something a little different from what I've heard before. I don't come to these meetings very often, but I have come whenever Mark's been here. And one thing that I have noticed is it seems that the board had a necessity to have an attorney here at every meeting that I've been to. My understanding, and I've never been to any township meetings where attorneys were present at so many of them. I find that a little disturbing because usually attorneys are brought in when there are issues, real legal problems. Nothing personal against you. You seem like a nice enough fellow. Nothing personal. In fact, I might need your legal counsel one day. But it's just that I really pray that the change in board members, that they run these meetings so that we do not need your assistance. That's all I have to say.
Carol Persky.
Good evening. I want to address my comments directly to three trustees, Anderson, Rakestraw, and Veer, who have done all your actions under the label of saving tax dollars. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves for how much extra salaries, $100 each per meeting, you have collected. Way more than any other prior term of trustees as a result of all the special meetings you've called. Then you had the nerve to delete the salaries of future trustees and so much energy to take the buses away from those who needed it the most. You ought to be ashamed. I'm done.
John Sheriff.
I'm used to it.
Sharif.
Just like, Jamie or whatever. Anyway,
Rouse.
see, you nailed it.
Finally.
Anyway, I'm just coming up here to say that I'd like to congratulate those who won in the last election. Formally. And I wasn't able to talk to Danielle because I didn't think about calling. I apologize for that. So, like I said, I want to say that, let's see, I'm winging it here just because I figured since three people up here wing it every time, I think I just do it too. But those of you who are going to be on the board the next 4 years, don't think that we're going to let up. Okay? And someone in particular should know that. And just like a previous comment said, you treat us with respect, we'll treat you with respect. You listen to us, we'll listen to you. Unlike what's been happening the past 4 years, when someone keeps raving on and on again on Facebook, the same comment every time he goes on Facebook, and then he tries to make up things saying that I'm bitter because I lost an election. Not even close. I ran. I got in the ballot. Unlike 3 people up here who didn't get on the ballot and nominated by the Republicans. If you had a mandate from the people, why didn't the people want you to run again? I mean, that's a very good question that you should ask yourself when you're in that barbershop mirror every day. You look at yourself in the mirror. Why didn't you get asked to run? It's a very logical question, But anyway, those of you who ran and won, congratulations. And let's get to work in making this a better township next 4 years.
Yeah.
Oh, and Stan, thank you for your service.
Yes.
Mary May.
Mary Mahady, Mchenry.
First, I do want to thank Stan and Craig. Really, thank you for realizing that what the people want matters more than personal agendas, and for sticking it out and standing up for those of us in the township. And I know that's funny to you, Steve, because you don't get it. That what?
Oh, I get it.
Steve, you're out of order.
She's out of order.
You're out of order,
To
Steve.
me.
It's public comment. You're out of order.
Wow.
You can't throw me out.
I'm going to.
You can't.
Yeah, that's right, but please be quiet. You're out of order.
No, you were out of order.
You were out of order.
Because
She's
you-
talking. You are out of order. You are out of order. Be quiet.
You don't like the pay cut.
Shut up. Thank you, Mary. Go on.
Wow, I'm so gonna miss that. So, these comments, further comments are for Bob, Mike, and Steve, because since you took over, this board took over, you pursued your own agendas, and you purposely ignored the will of the people. You claimed you were elected to do the damage that you have ensued on the township, yet your supporters never materialized, even at the ballot box. The last vote on eliminating the township, 7,373 people voted to keep it, 1,980 voted to eliminate it. And of course you didn't like that result, so you tried to get it on the ballot again. That is not representing your constituents. You spent 4 years acting like all the employees here are worthless, lazy, and maybe even criminals, which is why you think we need a whistleblower reward to weed out the corruption, which is all in your heads. All of our employees are hardworking, dedicated people that I am proud to be associated with. You wouldn't know that, though, because you don't really want to know the truth, because it's harder to keep up your claims of impropriety. You have wasted money on numerous unnecessary additional meetings, requiring payments to you and the township attorney, and police, which we never needed before. And let's not forget the $29,000 incomplete cost study you wasted money on. But hey, let's save taxpayer money. You have no personal experience in running township governments and departments, yet you have acted as if you knew better, second-guessing every decision made by the people elected to make those decisions. Oversight is good and necessary, but picking numbers out of a hat, which I've watched you do so many times because you have no knowledge or have done no research, that's not really the best way to do it. The people of the township know what they want, and they know what they want the township to be, and they know the value of what we provide here in the township. I am proud of the work that we do here in spite of your efforts to destroy it, and I look forward to having a board that believes in listening to and helping the community. You have worked very hard to destroy the township, but you did not succeed.
Yeah.
You may think, and you may believe that townships are going away, but the reality is the only thing that's going away, thank goodness, is you.
Maybe grouse.
So I have the unfortunate act of being the last one, so everyone's already stolen all my thunder, but that's okay. Stan, I want to thank you for, like they said, sticking it out. The fact that you remembered that you weren't just a trustee, that you were a member of the township, coming to the meetings that we had for the township, and voting and being there and being the representative that we really want, what we need. I apologize for what I did that. It is nothing against you, but thank you very much for your service. Someone else mentioned too, I was going to write this really good speech about how much money you three have wasted in your 4 years here, between the special meetings, between the added litigation, between the Hanlon bills, which I don't even want to get into, the cost study, just everything. How can you live with yourselves knowing how much money you blew? You spent a year of bus service on legal fees. That's what you guys did. You chose your own priorities over the people that needed that service the most. Now, usually you come up here and you want to be like angry, but honestly, believe it or not, I feel this sense of peace. I felt it before, last November, where I know, thank goodness, you guys are going to go away. And hopefully I never have to see you or hear you all again. But you have to remember that when you go home and lay your head on your pillow and think you are just the greatest thing ever to walk the face of the earth, God is reflected in the people that look at you. Look at all of these people. What do you see? Do you see someone who's happy with you? Someone who's proud of the choices you've made? No, not a single one. And Steve, about a year or so ago, I told you if you could bring one person to these meetings that supported your guys' idea, I would never come to another meeting.
They're working now.
Oh,
Yeah.
one person. So I've been able to come to every single meeting because you have no mandate. You have no supporters. All you have are the three of you to hold each other till the end of time. See you later.
Were they working on election day too?
Okay, that's any public comment. Moving on. Review of the regular Mchenry Township Board minutes on April 8th. Discussion of possible action.
I'll make a motion to accept those minutes as presented for the meeting on April 8th, 2021.
I'll be happy to second that motion. Any discussion? None being heard, roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Beer?
No.
And Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Okay. And we forgot to do this, guys, at the last budget workshop. It's my fault. Bob was reading them and I forgot to go back to them. So this is the budget workshop minutes of April 26th that were prepared by Mr. Middleton, I believe. May I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve the budget workshop meeting for April 26, 2021.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion? Okay, none being heard. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Beer?
No.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Next, the budget workshop meeting on May 3rd.
I'll make the motion to accept.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion? None being heard, roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Beer?
No.
And Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Motion and approval for receipts and bills for the town fund.
I have those here. Before I read that, I'd like to make a comment for Debbie. For some reason, I could not receive the agenda or the packet, and I sent her an email, and she went above and beyond service to make sure I got that for this meeting. So I'd like to have the record show that she really helped me out to get that, so I was prepared for this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
For the town fund, we, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 13th day of May 2021 examine and audit the amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorize payment of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $54,971 or 71 cents. Total bills paid prior to audit, $41,482.70. Totally approved, $96,383.41. Total receipts, $11,770. I move to accept the receipts and pay the bills for the town fund.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Wojciechowski. Roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Beer?
Yes.
And Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Motion for approval of receipts and bills for the general road and bridge fund.
Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. bills to be approved. $112,910.73. Total bills paid prior to audit, $19,831.93. Total to be approved, $132,742.66. Total receipts, $30,686.41. I make a motion to accept the bills, or accept the receipts and pay the bills for the general road and bridge.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Discussion.
Any discussion, sure.
Page 2.
Page 2.
Under liabilities, there's a strange notation that I've never seen before in any prior DRB list. Development deposit, $156,396 in parentheses. So what does that mean? Does that mean it's not a liability?
I would say since it's a negative number, it's not.
Well, then it should be an asset then.
Well, it's just, it's the accounting software that does this, and I know it does it right, Steve. I can't tell you.
Well, what is it?
Hoping I can get an answer.
Is there a question?
Yeah, development deposits, what are those, you know?
Pardon me?
Development deposits on the GRB.
Is it on the pay prior? Or is it on the open invoices?
I couldn't tell you that. It's listed here as 156, 396, 23. I can show it to you.
What's the question? Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to find it.
What's the question?
Development deposits. It's a negative.
Right. This isn't going to reflect everything because we have not put in any budgeting or whatever, so that's probably what was on deposit from last year that rolled over.
Okay. And that is for road projects, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, then why is it in parentheses as a negative amount?
That I do not know. Until I put the new budget in, I don't know. But actually, that says, that's probably the non-dedicated road.
That's what I would think it is.
That's a non-dedicated road line item in GRB. Because that's not the culvert deposit.
No, that's above
that.
that.
And there's no road projects in this, that's in PHR. So that's gotta be the non-dedicated road. So if you go to the budgeted income statement, go to the budgeted income statement. Page forward. If you look on page 1 there, yeah, see nothing's hit that line item yet, so it's not even gonna show. It'll be a budgeted line item, but because nothing's been expended out, because there's no budget.
It's not coming up because there's no budget in yet.
Right, we don't have a budget in yet. But prior year, there was the non-dedicated road line item, and that's what that's carrying over.
Well, it seems to me as a basic element of accounting that should be listed as an asset.
I don't think it's I think it's money that's anticipated in for those from the county. So that could be the dollar amount from the county that we get.
Then if that was so, then why would it be under liabilities to begin with?
We haven't received it yet.
We haven't received it yet.
It's anticipated.
So you're telling me that we have to pay that money out?
It's a negative number, so you shouldn't have to pay that.
No, it's nothing to be paid out.
Well,
Not unless the count, not until,
If we had paid it out, it would have showed up on the budget and
right,
income
it's not a
statement.
regular income statement.
all right, well, this isn't
we
a
have
small
not-
amount, it's $156,000.
Pardon me?
Paid it out, maybe it's
Correct, and it's
Right.
not.
It hasn't been an expense yet, Steve, so.
So why is it here? Because it apparently has been used to,
It's been used in prior budgets. See, this is.
so the $698,987 for current liabilities.
If you turn the page, Steve, they have to match with the current assets, and they do.
You mean page 2?
Right, where it says on the top there, 1,249,088.90. They have to balance with the total assets.
All right, well, we're not holding the money, and we haven't been billed for the money. So I don't understand how it's either an asset or a liability. That would mean that this
That's
figure
a good
is wrong.
accounting question.
That's a good accounting question, we'd have to ask the accountant, but
But you're the treasurer of the road.
I'm the treasurer, but.
But the way the
I'm not an
reports, I don't,
So nobody knows. It's just a big mystery.
Software does it correctly.
the software does that.
Well, that's not a good enough explanation. The software does it. So the total liabilities and net assets, that is not the right amount.
Test. Yeah, so typically when you're looking at it in an accounting standpoint, you have your assets equal liabilities plus equity. So in this case, I'm just looking at your assets sheet. You have your assets, which is 1,249,000. Your assets, your total assets, should then equal your liabilities plus equity. In this case, your total liabilities are 698,987, which then says what is your remaining net assets, which is 550,101. Directly to Steve's point, though, is why is there $156,396 in parens? If that was not in parens, then that would be money owed by the township to some entity or something. So if that was not in parens, so that signals to me that that money is owed almost like an accounts receivable.
That's what I would assume.
Like an accounts receivable, because it's a negative number. If you go to the top there, you have accounts receivable of $719,000 in property taxes, which means that you anticipate receiving money, assuming we're on an accrual basis here because we have accounts receivable. That means we anticipate some money's coming in, so we're booking it as accounts receivable. In this number here, this negative number of 156 is a liability. That's just telling me that the township does not owe that money. That's money that the township anticipates on receiving.
That's what I would say.
Because it's a negative number in accounts receivable.
Well, then why would it show up on the liability?
Somebody put it in as a negative number. So maybe it could have gone in from an entry standpoint. Maybe it could have gone in as development deposit accounts receivable to show that they anticipate 156,000 coming in there. I'm not sure.
Well, then there's something, some document or a series of them that total that amount somewhere.
That would be correct. That would be correct. That would be correct.
But where is it? So we can figure it out. I'm not directing that question to you, Mr. Milito, but
Let me go take a look at that individual line item
Okay.
and see what's posting to it.
Okay.
so we'll put this aside for the time being.
Sure, we're gonna come back to it though, so I don't forget, okay? So then let's Move on to the PHR. Somebody have permanent hard road fund?
Dan Judd.
Stan, you?
That's me.
Okay.
Permanent Hard Road. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $26,271.88. Total bills paid prior to audit, $23,946.63. Total to be approved, $50,218.51. Total receipts, $9,013.93. I make a motion to accept the receipts, pay the bill.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion, Chairman.
Yes.
Under Mchenry Savings Bank, checking, which is the first line item of the assets.
What happened there, Steve, is that there's a nightly rollover to that account. So we can overdraw that account, but then the next day it gets pulled from the money market, it gets put in there. So the day that we finish this statement, that was a negative number. But it doesn't, it was $8,997.45 short, but we don't get charged or anything for that because they just roll it over the next day from the money market. So it's just that particular day we closed, there was a negative number in there.
So this means the PHR fund is a reserve of $678,322.
Well, that's a
minus the nearly $9,000 from the overdrawn account.
Correct. And that's working capital.
And the allowance for uncollectible property taxes.
That's a percentage that is figured into every statement. From historical data.
Why doesn't it just come out of the property tax receivable?
Because that's the way the accounts want to show them.
Wow. If this was a regular corporation, there would be a lot of eyebrows raised.
No, these are GASB accounting standards, and that's what we're following.
What's the maximum that Mchenry Savings Bank can be overdrawn? Is there one? Or is that really just the amount of the MMDA?
Would be the amount of MMDA, yeah. If we went below that number, we wouldn't have anything to draw on.
So that's some kind of an automatic sweep?
It's an automatic sweep, yes, correct. And it's done nightly, so the day we closed this, it happened to be a negative. The next day it would have swept.
So the under liabilities, this accrued IMRF, it's a negative amount again? Or a positive amount? It's not really a liability, is it? If it's a positive. I mean, I'm just trying to make head or tail of this.
Right.
So it's not a negative number, it's positive, so there's not one would item required, or we've accrued $21,413
Right.
benefits.
Right. That's an accrual of benefits, $21,413.87. Because we paid $28,656.58 in IMF.
Okay, so why are there parentheses around it? Making it seem like it's a positive amount. When it isn't.
Well, it's accrued in there.
Oh, well, you've got accrued Liberty Insurance as a positive amount. Okay.
No.
How can it be
Yeah,
negative?
accrued liberty insurance is 274.38, which means that's an accrued liability of amounts owed. Accrued IMRF, which is 21,413.87 with brackets around it, which means it's an accrued liability. However, you funded it already with 21. There's already a funding of it 21,413, so you don't actually owe 21,413. You have a positive value there of 21,413, much like the development issue earlier.
Correct. Same
So that's not money owed. That's money that's accrued to your benefit.
So the word voluntary under the IMRF after tax, that figure has nothing to do with the figure above it, the 21,000.
Voluntary IMRF is additional IMRF that employees can pay in above what's required out of their paycheck.
So why is that a township liability?
After tax.
So again, this is the road district's permanent hard road fund.
Without the budget. These numbers will change once we put the budget in. This is money that's coming out of their checks. So it becomes a liability once we have to pay the bill. The bill hasn't come in to be a paycheck.
The
So
expense
when
hasn't come
Liberty
in.
Insurance.
But this 28,000 is money that's owed at some point in time, but hasn't been paid.
Correct. It's been taken out of checks.
It's sitting there for the benefit of payment in the future.
Correct.
So the payroll has already started. We get the bill once a month. We have payroll twice in a month.
Correct, but this is affecting the highway department. Correct.
Okay, so yeah.
We said the township, I just want to make sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it happens in the township and in the
Yep, you
highway
get your own
department.
books for that.
Correct.
And part of the reason some of these are negatives is we don't have a budget in yet, so.
Well,
Which we will shortly, hopefully.
how does the existence or non-existence of the budget affect the liability sheet now?
Could you please use your mic?
Well, I don't know that it does. I think what they're just trying to do is show a snapshot right now of the liabilities that the road district has accrued.
So far.
That as of April 1st, which is the beginning of the fiscal year.
Correct.
And so that $28,000 is owed until you paid that out.
All right, that's fine. I don't have a question of the voluntary IMRF, okay? But the figure above it, the 21,400, still hasn't been explained.
That's the accrued IMR. That is a journal that's put in by the accounting firm. So much is accrued. They have to put in, that was all done.
Sure, but that's in parentheses because,
I'm not an accountant.
yeah, I'm not either. This is the accountant's doing.
Yeah, so.
I'm not a CPA, so I don't know.
I can't comment as to why the accountant did it or didn't do it, but I can just tell you with the negative number in the liability section,
Right.
that's telling me that that's a positive number that's to the benefit of the highway department and not a detriment.
Correct.
So- Correct.
That's the way I read it also.
Because it's a negative number in the liability column.
Now, how they come up with those, I don't know. That would be,
But it shouldn't be in the liability column.
Well, what it's telling me is that the IMRF is funded more than what is necessary possibly, because it's saying, instead of having, let's say, a negative number of saying, oh, you've accrued $20,000 and you owe $20,000 to the accrued IMRF, that would just say then you'd have a $20,000 balance. Since you have $21,000 in the negative numbers, that means you've got more than enough money accrued for your IMRF, and you've got a positive number in the liability section.
Could that be from the last check in
That-
March that carried
that would-
over into April?
That would explain it, because you've got an interim from a
Right,
March
you
to an
have to
April.
account for
And
that.
then, if that's the case, then you would have approximately a 1 month swing in dollars, which would then
Correct.
push it into a negative number in the liability column, which is actually a positive effect.
Which is actually a positive, right?
Correct.
So that's probably what it is. It's the difference between March and April with the 2 different years.
Which would make sense for a journal entry by the accountant.
Correct.
Well, the deferred property tax levy of 990,000 doesn't seem to match the property tax receivable on the asset. And why is that a liability too?
Good question. What it is a deferred property tax levy, and so what happens, again, let's get back to assets equal liabilities versus accounts receivable, or owner's equity. In this case, you have property tax receivables. Since you're an accrual basis, and I wish the accountant was here, but I'll try to give a nutshell version from my perspective. A property tax receivable, since you're booking an accrual basis tax receivable, saying, hey, look, we've got $995,000 of taxes to be coming in, and so as a result, that's not cash that you've received. It's an accounts receivable. In this case, you have property tax receivable. Then you have to, from a debit credit standpoint, if you make a debit notation, in this case a tax receivable, you're going to have to make a credit notation on the other end. So that means you either add it as a liability, or you add it as an owner's equity, or in this case net assets. Well, you haven't received the money yet, so you have to treat it as potential money that's coming in. In this case, it would be deferred property tax levy. Then the question then becomes, well, how come that number is different than the other number? Great question. Because you take the 995,004 less the allowance for uncollected property tax, which is 4975, then should equal the 990,029. Correct.
Exactly.
Okay. Then, one more comment. If the taxes then are received, your tax receivables come down, cash goes up, your levy liability goes down, and your net assets increase by the money that you received.
So the year-to-date earnings, which is a negative amount, what's that?
That's probably, it's kind of probably like a carry forward. So balance in funds, is that what it is? Okay. So balance in funds prior years. So it's saying, okay, we've got a 709,000 to carried forward for prior years. Okay. So 91,682.35 year-to-date earnings. That's telling me that as of April 2021, it's a 1 month snapshot?
Correct.
Okay, so you have a 1 month snapshot for April. You had, from an income standpoint, you would have $91,682 loss. So if you ran your income statement for April, you took a snapshot, that would tell me you had $91,682.35 loss for April. That $91,000 then gets set against your balance funds for carry forward, which then gives you your total assets of $692.
I'd like to call the question.
All right. No, there's still questions. How could the balance?
The question's been called.
How could the balance of?
Question's been called by Mr. Anderson. So roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw?
Abstain.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Beer?
No.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Motion carries.
Why doesn't the balance sheet say accrual method on it?
That's what we, that's exactly.
We are an accrual, we're not on a cash house, we're an accrual accounting.
But then the balance sheet should state.
It doesn't have to say that, Steve, it just.
Yeah, it does have to.
It does not. Are you a CPA?
Are you?
No, I'm not. But I'm
You
telling
didn't
you.
even answer the basic questions.
Discussion.
Let's move on, it's passed. Let's go back to the other one.
forgot we didn't do the other one?
General Road and Bridge, we didn't finish that one. We were asking about the 156 that you're gonna.
That's probably gonna be the same kind of thing, that's the same balance as prior year, brought over. There's no transactions on that, so that is an accounting adjustment that's been done for year end. And that'll clear itself out when they come in for the audit,
There we go.
because it's the same prior year also.
It's an accounting adjustment for year end, so.
There's no transactions done on that at all. It's just a balance.
So even though it says net assets at the bottom, those are really negative amounts, the last two lines.
Correct, for it to carry over from the end of year.
Correct. You're negative.
And what correlation are those net assets to the top assets?
So your total assets is 1,249,000. Your total liability is 698. So your total assets, the actual assets that you have at the end of your April month is $550,000. That's it as far as what you've got now. How did you come to that? You have your carry forwards, but then you also see there your 105,679 net loss. So you were, for the month of April, like you were in the permanent hard road, you were short, so you were short 105. And actually, if you scroll down to the income statement, you call it the year-to-date performance report. If you look at the very bottom of that, it'll say the net profit was a negative 105,679. So that's why after you take that
It matches the
reduction.
expenses that have already been paid out.
Correct. Right. So at the end of the day,
April.
your balance is 550,101 as far as your net asset today.
These numbers seem to me to be backed into just to get a inequality between assets and liabilities.
that?
Yeah.
That shows you what has been paid out, right there. This is what you're talking about?
You mean in March?
No, April. This is April, not March.
So there are no May payouts on any of this?
No.
No.
No. We're only in March.
April.
Or April.
April.
I don't even know what month it is.
So we have a motion to approve those.
We have a motion and a second.
Bridge fund?
I'll call the question. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Beer?
No.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Okay, don't know if we did our fund transfers last month, I believe. Approval of the tentative budget appropriation resolution for the town fund and GA fund.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. So where are the reductions for the shared township and road district personnel? I think that was what,
No, the reduction, yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's not in your packet. It was done. If you look at the administration, Steve, I think it's done up there at the top.
what page are you on?
I don't seem to have one. Oh, wait, here it is. On page 3. In red there.
Okay, so the two employees that are shared, the 20% of their salaries, it was attributable to the road district, have been both pulled out, and that's why we have 158,468.
Correct.
The previous number was 175,537.
So, that notation after 3 full-time, 1 part-time, it isn't really changed.
Staffing's staying the same, you're just splitting, yeah, you're just reducing it by the amount.
Then the IMRF and all the rest of those figures are concomitantly changed.
Correct.
Looked over.
All right.
I thought the HRA for employees was lowered. I'm talking about page 3. Under personnel. HRA under employees.
Yeah, I understand.
That didn't change.
That didn't change, it was an estimate.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah. It's not gonna be spent if it's not used, so it doesn't really matter. All right, any more questions?
It does matter because we cut the HRA in other departments.
Well, you didn't indicate a cut there when we went through this, so.
Well, go to page 6 and look under the assessor.
You must have indicated it there, but you didn't indicate anywhere else.
We indicate under all of them.
You did not.
Yeah, we did.
You did
Okay.
not.
I made the motion to approve. Anybody willing to second it?
I'll second the motion. Let's call the question.
Have you gone over this, Mr. Adams?
Have I gone over it?
Yeah.
Yes, all the changes were made that you were asked to be made.
Well, I dispute that because the HRA isn't changed under the administration.
You never asked for that to be changed. It isn't gonna matter, Steve, it doesn't get spent anyway, so it's really a non-consequential thing.
Well, it is consequential because money is allocated to it. And if it's a constant over budgeting, then something's wrong with the budgetary process.
Well, it could actually happen in that.
The motion's been approved and seconded.
Motion been approved and seconded. Let's have a roll call vote.
We have a
Mr.
vote.
Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw?
No.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Beer?
No.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Okay, the ordinance passes.
I have a problem with this new business. If you look at B and C,
I think they're the same item, actually.
they're the same.
They're the
So,
same, they are the same item.
Yeah. Talk about nepotism. I don't see any difference between these two different resolutions.
I would agree. They were presented that way, so they're put on the thing that way.
Well, there is a difference. So maybe this is a matter for the executive session or
We can't have a
whatever.
discussion before we have a motion.
Clerk's right.
I'm sorry, what, ma'am?
Is that clerk's right? There has not been a motion yet.
Yeah, well, I make a motion that we have a discussion Possible action regarding the situation, possible violation of township mandated nepotism conflict resolution.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. It's in your packet.
That's just the policy.
It's a policy. We
Of
don't
the
have
township.
we don't have a resolution. We only have a policy.
All right, so now the question arises over a trustee and an employee of the township.
Don't we have to have a vote on the motion?
Do we not have a vote on
No,
it?
you have discussion.
No, we have a discussion, we didn't
No, we're putting it first and second.
Now it's discussion, Mike.
No, Mike's not wrong.
There was a motion and a second.
Was there a
Discussion.
motion? Okay.
No vote.
Okay. All right. Mr. Beer, I'm sorry. Could you start again, please?
I didn't quite hear you, Chairman.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Can you repeat what you're saying?
Yeah, there seems to be an imminent situation of a township trustee in relationship with an employee of the township. There seems to be a conflict because someone is going to be in charge
You're not
of the
in
budget.
charge.
Are you going to keep order, Mr. Chairman?
Everybody, audience, please. I will have to throw you out if you don't. There's no conflict because they're no longer married and they don't live together. So there's no conflict.
Well, I dispute them not living together because of certain documentation that was provided to the attorney.
It's called
It's
elections.
a very recent.
They haven't lived together for years.
He is not a trustee until next week.
Yeah, well, now we're taking actions to get to the bottom of it.
He is not a trustee.
First of all, you can't elect them.
Absolutely, there's no situation here.
And there's definitely a situation.
There's no
We're
situation.
talking about a trustee that is not a trustee.
What do you mean they're not living together? What are you basing that on, Mr. Adam?
It's a personal matter.
I would suggest the township, if you want to talk about a specific employee, I would not talk about any specific employees in an open session regarding personal matters. If there's something that needs to be brought out and talked about in closed session regarding a specific employee, then the township is allowed to go, or the board is allowed to go into executive session to discuss a specific employee. I would refrain from talking about it publicly, and if you want to talk about it, go into closed session.
Then we defer it to the closed session.
He's elected.
So we'll deal with B and C.
Okay, move on.
So, number D is
Creation or adoption of the Township Road District tentative budget, discussion of possible action. Mr. Miltel, would you like to go on?
I believe it was at the budget workshop, and I think it was at one of the last meetings. There was a question asked as to what is the process for the township to adopt a tentative budget appropriation ordinance, as well as adopting the final budget appropriation ordinance and that notice requirement. There was also then the question of how does that impact, or how does it apply to the road district? And I believe I, at that meeting, indicated that the highway commissioner is the individual who prepares the tentative budget appropriation ordinance and then gives it to the clerk, who then puts out notice and then has a public hearing. And then at that meeting, at that public hearing, the public have a general opportunity to make comments and discuss that tentative budget appropriation ordinance prepared by the highway commissioner. Then at that meeting, the board, township board, has the ability to make line item and or changes that are reasonably necessary as they feel, the township board feels, relative to that final budget and appropriation ordinance. You are at the tentative budget appropriation ordinance stage, and to my knowledge at this date, the highway commissioner, unless I'm wrong, has not filed a tentative budget and appropriation ordinance with you.
The clerk, you have not received anything, have you?
No.
Okay.
So now the question is, what happens when you have a road district commissioner that refuses to present a tentative budget?
How do we get back on our budget?
Whoa. Please, Mr.
do you know?
Good question. If the highway commissioner does not, if the highway commissioner does not give the clerk a tentative budget and appropriation ordinance, then the clerk does not have anything to then, or the ability to then put notice out there saying, I've received a budget and appropriation ordinance from the highway commissioner, and then they set that out 30 days, at least 30 days from the time, in order to have notice so that the public can then have comment and then the board make a decision. If a final budget and appropriation is not adopted within the first quarter, which would be by June 30th, then it raises issues for the highway commissioner to spend monies that are not otherwise appropriate.
Excuse me, may I interrupt? We're on D. We have not had a first and a second. We're going into discussion before we have a first and a second. Can't do that.
And also the clerk, he's confused too on C. What did we decide on C? I don't know. What did we decide on C?
Moving that 3 seconds.
So that's
All right, that's fine. Now,
Okay.
we have to have a motion first and second before we go into discussion.
Okay, I'll make a motion on D. Someone second it.
Second.
Mr. Anderson.
I second.
To discuss this.
Thank you.
All right, so, as a preliminary matter, 22 days ago, the road district commissioner sent an email to the board and its chairman, and I'll read it into the record. All, comma, due to the significantly reduced levy, previous project commitments that must be completed this year, final project payments from last year, elevated salt costs and annual expenses, I have been unable, well, I think he meant to, but it's not in the letter. I have been unable to develop a balanced budget that meet the requirements and duties of the road district. I am currently working on getting additional expense estimates with the hope of developing a balanced budget. However, this will most likely take several more weeks, and in the end, will leave the MTRD with little to no reserve. It is a very unfortunate position that the road district has been placed in because of the short-sighted, misspelled, and uninformed decisions of a few trustees. So, even though we knew the amount of the levy last December, mid-December, he's not been able to put together a budget. Says he needs several more weeks as of April 21st. Have you received any more communications from the road district commissioner?
I have not.
So, then the board is faced with the situation of 605 ILCS 5/6501. It very clearly states, quote, at the public hearing shall adopt the tentative budget and appropriation ordinance or any part as the board of trustees deems necessary, unquote. May I say something?
Yes.
I'm not quite done.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Ward.
So the problem,
You're never done.
Stand, please, no outbursts. Okay, Steve.
So the question is, when you have a road district commissioner who refuses to provide a tentative budget, frees out this board, okay, the board should be able to do the 4 budgets for its 4 years. Suddenly, we're not allowed to.
First of all, it has to be submitted to the clerk. Go ahead.
But there's a situation where nothing is being done.
Well, he has time to do it yet.
Doesn't it have to be posted 30 days?
Yes.
So it has to be done by the end of June. So
no, the tentative budget has to be put up, right?
The tentative budget can be adopted at any time between now and the end of May. So anytime between now and the end of May, the highway commissioner could give a copy of his budget appropriation ordinance to the clerk. and then the clerk would then give notice, at least 30 days, and then you would have the hearing sometime in the end of June. And at that hearing, the public would have an opportunity to comment. The board, the township board would then, as you pointed out, Steve, yes, the township board would have an opportunity to then make comment and approve or not approve those things that are deemed necessary. My concern is that that's at the back end of approving a final budget and appropriation ordinance. The statute in 50 ILCS 330-3 specifically says, provided that in townships such tentative ordinances for purposes other than the road bridge fund shall be prepared by the township board. So it specifically says the township board prepares it all except the road bridge fund because it's specifically exempted out. The section relative to then into the highway code, so it refers to both the general budgeting law and then the section within the highway code, which is 605 you cited, Steve. If you go back a little bit on that section, find it. It says the highway commissioner in each road district in each county having adopted township shall, in accordance with the municipal, at least 30 days prior to public meeting, prepare or cause to be prepared a tentative budget and appropriation ordinance, and then file it with the clerk of the township. So highway commissioner prepares it, gives it to the clerk, and then the clerk then publishes it, and then talks about the hearing, and then, as you correctly pointed out, at that hearing and then approving of that final budget, the board then has their say. So at this time, it's premature because you don't have anything in front of you to look at, nor is the public hearing been had. And then unfortunately, the highway commissioner hasn't presented anything at this point.
Can I get my 2 cents in now, please?
Yes, Stan, go ahead.
It's my understanding that the road commissioner wants the new board to approve his budget, and it is his absolute right to do that as long as he meets the deadline.
Stan, what is your understanding based on? Did you talk to him?
You are not recognized.
I did not talk to him, but I could read between the lines here. He doesn't want you anywhere near his budget.
Well, the public court had something to say about that.
As long as they meet the deadline, there's no laws broken here. Right?
Mr. Militello, yes.
Mr. Militello?
Yep, that's correct. So it's premature. I mean, if this board wants to do something, you certainly could do something. However, within the law, the highway commissioner is the one who's supposed to adopt the budget and the tentative budget and appropriation ordinance, give it to the clerk to start it. The reference, and I think Trustee Ver was indicating regarding the appellate court, that was at a point where the board actually then physically had the tentative budget and appropriation ordinance, because then they had the public notice and then they had the opportunity, as the board would, to make a determination whether or not a line item was or was not deemed necessary in that particular case. So if you're asking me, I would encourage the board not to do anything on the tentative budget appropriation ordinance, because it's not within the authority within both the highway code as well as the general budgeting code, because it is exempted out relative to the township.
And what happens if there's never a tentative budget?
Great question. Great question. You got to have a tentative budget before you can have a final budget, because you got to have. If you don't have the tentative budget, you can't have the public hearing, which then you don't get a final budget appropriation ordinance. Which then begs the question of, you can't spend money unless it's been properly budgeted and appropriated for.
So either he has to submit one or he won't have any.
Well, he's got to the end of May.
Yes, correct.
We're not going to have a say on it.
So let's move on.
That's correct.
Extension of board member comments, E to 10 minutes from, it's 1 minute, so it was presented as 3, it used to be 1. With the unused balance of any board member to be distributed to any other board member at the member's option. Discussion of possible action.
Craig?
Yes.
Don't you think we should have a vote on number D?
I'm sorry.
We did have discussion,
Okay, we did vote on
Wait a
it.
second.
You're correct, let's vote on it. Okay, so, Mr. Anderson, we're voting,
What are we voting on?
what's the
We're
motion?
voting on no action, right?
Voting on no action would be a yes.
Well, then wouldn't we have to make a motion for that? For no action?
I'll make the motion for no action on Part D.
I'll second the motion, okay? Let's have a roll call vote, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr.,
The vote is for no action?
no action.
No action. Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw.
No.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Beard.
No.
Mr. Wojciechowski.
Yes.
Okay, no action will be taken. Okay. Now we're moving on to E, extension of board member comments, section to 10 minutes from 1. It was 1 minute. With the unused balance of any board member to be distributed to any other board members at the member's option. Discussion and possible action. Do we have a motion for this?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Beard. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, let's take a vote. Mr. Anderson?
No.
Mr. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, no. Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski, way down there.
I've only been here for 4 years, you still don't.
You know, I'm sorry. You're way down there.
We love you, Stan. Yes. We all love you.
I vote no.
Okay, motion fails.
Everybody else's time already anyway.
Are we
Okay,
gonna have order in this room?
okay.
As soon as you talk in
Okay,
turn.
please, Mr. Beard, you're out of order also. Okay, old business, Truck Street Rakestraw request review of the resolutions to the township reward for whistleblowers, discussion of possible action.
Well, the reason why I brought this back up.
No, we need a motion.
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept this.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anderson?
What?
Or discussion, I'm sorry.
The reason why I brought this back up is I had a few concerns that I didn't feel were addressed, but afterwards thinking it'd be better to have something that's not perfect than nothing at all, so I brought it back up.
But you also asked for the amount to be changed, correct?
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. At the meeting, you said that you thought the $1,000 was way too much. Because it would cut down, you know what?
Okay, I accept that.
You did, okay. So in the new one, it's reduced to $100. Any discussion on that? Okay, let's have a roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, no. Mr. Beer?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
No.
Okay. Passes.
So what's the number of that resolution?
The clerk will add a number to it. It'll be posted on the website. Okay. Proposed agenda items for next month's board meeting. You won't be here, so I don't think we should be proposing anything.
Well, then why is it on the agenda? Yeah, I do have some proposed agenda items for the next meeting.
Okay, what are they?
Well, we've talked about getting a new accounting firm, as Torma recommends.
It's, bids are being sent out, and it will be done for next year's, when it comes time next year.
We're going to put it on the agenda for some concrete action to be taken for next year.
Mr. Byrne, the accounting firm we were talking about the auditing firm, and that's being taken care of.
There's two things. There's the accountant.
I understand that.
And then there's what?
Right, but the accountant has
The bookkeeper.
I'm sorry, what?
What do you call the other outfit?
The auditors. But the accountant has very little, it's very nominal and doesn't have any effect on the numbers in the budget.
You could put on the agenda, update and status regarding our.
Okay. Updated status. We never brought it up before. Okay.
The second agenda item is an update on the COVID situation for the township meetings and facilities.
I could give you that now if you'd like.
Well, they may change between now and the next meeting. So to have the board.
Well, actually, it's not going to change because it just came out with you can have a maximum of 100 people in the meeting space. That's all this.
120.
120, is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, it could change, Steve. They could go back to full. I apologize.
And it's other facilities, okay?
And other facilities.
Well, the indoor-outdoor situation, all of it.
It is in your packet every month. You know that? I don't know that we need it on the agenda. Every month in your packet, it's listed. It's right here in your packet right now, and it's listed every month.
Well, bring the new board up to speed on it.
Well, it'll be in their packet. So I don't know that we need it on the agenda. It's clearly here on every month. This is where we're at. It's all in red.
You should highlight it too.
Okay. All right, moving on then, okay? Supervisor's report is in your packet.
So there were only 3 general systems grants given in April.
Yes, but we have, I believe, 2 or 3 more coming next month.
We're sending people to the county.
We're sending people to the county first. But sometimes they can't qualify for what's going on there. All right.
So under the Ross monthly report, those are single brides.
I believe those are individual rights, yes.
Well, that means the buses are doing about 3 round trips a day.
I will admit it's slow, but the senior center just reopened, so I expect it to go back up.
When did it reopen?
This, matter of fact, this week, in the last.
Friday.
Okay, thank you. Friday, someone told me. So they will be having activities there again, and I expect those numbers to go up.
Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. All right, assessor's report's in your packet. I also believe the highway commissioner has a report in the packet.
Craig, do I have an opportunity to tell people what's in this? My report?
You certainly do if you'd like to talk about it.
Sure. There we go.
Sorry, Mary, I forgot you were here even though you talked.
That's okay. I'm gonna face you guys.
Hey.
I'm
Okay, so, as you all know, the tax bills have been mailed, they're all out. So and we know because we keep getting the calls. But I do ask that you review your bill and check, make sure you're receiving exemptions. If you know anyone who thinks they're missing exemptions, they do have an opportunity to correct that, so to make sure that they contact us. It's a limited period that we can do that though, so you can't wait till December and say, oh, I need that exemption, so you want to call. We do our newest subdivision that's being worked on is Stonewater subdivision over down west of town and across from Valley View. They're moving right along, and they're aiming to start building some models and selling homes this year. So we have a lot of activity going on. We've had an increase from the beginning from January 1 of 2020 to May 13th of 2020. The increase for the same period this year, we're up 23% in sales. A lot of activity going on.
Are you, Mary?
Yes.
Just, I don't know if you know or not, but that new subdivision, what school district are they going to be under?
The Stonewater will go to Wonder Lake Grade School and Mchenry High School.
Is that Harrison School District?
Yes, it is.
So,
Wonder Lake would be Harrison, correct?
What?
Wonder Lake would be Harrison?
Harrison, correct, yes, Harrison, and then they do have, on the grounds, there's room for a school, so it would be, again, Wonder Lake, District 36.
Mary, is that part of Thatcher Meadows?
It was Thatcher Meadows, they're now calling it Stonewater.
And what's happening? Okay, so, yeah, I was confused about it. So what's going on over there? Are they actually doing anything?
They are, if you drive by there, they're grading and doing all of the excavating to put in roads and start marking off lots. And I believe they have at least one builder on board to start. It's a very large subdivision. It's supposed to be 3,700 units when they're done, many years. They have about 30 different what they call neighborhoods. It's pretty elaborate. I'm looking to get together with one of the supervisors because they really, in the last couple of months, really started. If you drive by there, you literally will see.
I've seen a lot of action. I was wondering when you would start building houses there. It's like 10 years old, and that subdivision's been there, and nothing's ever been done. Right?
Yeah, they got the land 10 years in 2010, right around the time when nobody wanted to buy houses or build houses. And then they had some other issues. Just took a while for the market to catch up. They had to put in a water system, but they're ready to rock and roll now. So they're pretty much getting started, and they expect to see some houses this year. So that's all I know at this point. So we'll keep up on that, but. I am working to get together with one of the managers to get a little better lay of what they expect for this year. So it's finally happening. I just want to let you know we have a Facebook page, and so because we don't have a newsletter anymore, I've started doing a monthly Facebook Live little presentation to scare everybody. And we're trying to come up with topics that would be helpful for you regarding assessments. We are open to suggestions if you have particular topics you'd like us to cover. We're not talking a long time, 20 minutes, half an hour, but feel free to email or call and give suggestions for that. So.
I'm watching you do a nice job.
Yeah, thank you. It's it's just a way of reaching out. It's taped, so it is always available on the Facebook page, and we do put it on the website, the township website as well.
Have you thought about putting it on the YouTube channel that this is also broadcasted on?
No. I haven't thought about that. So hopefully we're reaching people that need some of that information.
Somebody's phone.
I've been working with, as a result of working with State Senator Melinda Bush from the next district over, from District 31. A lot of conversations with her regarding property tax law changes. based on that, she did put forward 6 bills to address some of those situations. So on April 28th, I was able to appear before the Senate Revenue Committee that was discussing these bills and give detailed testimony on why those changes were needed and how they'd be benefit to taxpayers. So I'm very excited about that. I don't know what's going to happen with those, but to have 6 come out of that, and I mean, they're important things. We'll see what happens with them. I will definitely keep you up on what happens with that. I don't know. Their session ends at the end of May, so we'll know something soon. But I was glad to have somebody finally pick up on some of those ideas and run with them. So, other than that, we're just working on our 2021 assessments. Remember, your notices will come out sometime end of August or September. That is the time, if you have any questions, whether it's your value or exemptions, to reach out. Any question you have. So just call, and remember that it's your value as of January 1, 2021, which if the values are any indication, it's going to be interesting. So, anyway, that's all I have. Any questions?
I have a question.
Stan.
I have a question. Thatcher Woods, what's it called now?
I'm sorry?
What is this subdivision in Water Lake called now?
Stonewater.
Stonewater. Is going to be built with materials that are far more expensive than existing homes. What kind of a provision are you going to do or to take in regarding the assessments of these properties, because they do not compare? Like a 3,000 square foot house sold there does not reflect the same value as a 3,000 square foot house that's been existing for 20 years. How are you going to take care of equalizing that so that you're not bringing existing values up to their values, which it's not comparable?
No, the values of those homes would be assessed like I do other neighborhoods based on the values in that neighborhood. So they would be compared to those. And sale prices are going to be driving that, because that's what we work with. What are people paying for those properties?
Yeah, I guess I'm just concerned that existing houses will be brought up to match theirs and not the other way around.
You should already be concerned.
Yeah, I am.
Existing, the prices being paid right now are $50,000 to $100,000 more than what they're currently assessed at. Already. Right. And that's been increasing, we've been increasing values in many areas. So, again, assessments are based on market value. What are people paying? I don't control what they're paying. I have to look at what the values are. So, but existing homes in Wonder Lake are not going to be compared to the new homes in Stonewater. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, mostly, but I mean, since it's really between Wonder Lake and Mchenry, it actually influences Mchenry as well.
Right, but I have to, again, it's going to be a very different community than what we have right now. So I don't know what their values are going to be. I don't know, there's a lot of information yet to be gathered. So we have to look at what's going on in that subdivision and what's driving those values. So it's a weird subdivision. They've got all these different neighborhoods. So, but newer homes are generally not assessed the same as existing homes. But could it push the prices up? Already is, because existing homes there's low supply, and new homes are more expensive. So existing homes are selling like crazy, and those prices have already been pushed up. So it's a fun job, Mike. A lot of information to take, but you know, when they start coming up, they start selling them, we'll have a better idea of where we're going with that. Okay.
And unfortunately, it's my opinion that people just care about what their monthly payment's gonna be, so interest rates are low. They're paying what I consider an exorbitant amount for a house because they don't care. They only care about their monthly payments. It's my interpretation. I don't know if that's true, but
Sure, interest rates have a big impact on what's going on right now. Yeah, everybody wants to move. It's 3% interest rate. I'm moving. Not to Indiana.
problem is you gotta buy something when you sell what you got.
Yeah. Anybody else? Real good. Thank you.
Can I have the board's permission to go to board member comments before executive session here?
No, we'll do that.
Yes.
We'll do that in the proper order.
Well, that's not up to you.
I agree. I would like to have the,
Board member.
first of all, I don't agree on an executive session. I think the new board should deal with the future of this township. I don't see why we have to go to an executive session.
Don't go.
Okay, well, right now we're talking about, let's move board member comments now, so before executive session, so Devin.
I'd like to have them now.
I'd like to have them now too, seconded.
No.
Mr. Veer doesn't want that?
No.
No.
I didn't ask for a roll, but okay, I got two, I got three no's. All right, we'll have board member comments after executive session, okay? So now, we're moving to executive session, is that correct, Mr. Milton?
Well, you need a motion in a second and section.
So we need a motion to go to.
I'll make a motion, we go into executive session.
Okay, we need a second.
Second.
But we don't have to identify why we're going in.
Yeah, we do. Mr. Wilson, where are we going?
You have two issues, one, which is to close exception.
There's two closed exceptions. One is pending litigation, which is section C11, which is the township versus Caltrain status. And then two, regarding a specific employee with the township, employment issue is regarding C1.
Is that all we have to know, C11 and C1?
In those reasons.
Okay, so we had a first and a second, didn't we? Roll call vote, Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, yes. Mr. Veer?
Yes.
And Ms. Wojcicki?
No.
Okay.
I hope we'll see you in the meeting. And I'm not participating. You'll be welcome on that side.
You need to go.
Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'll pick it up on
They are so marvelous, they've done that thing here.
Because in the corner of Mullen Lake and Ringwood, I'll call the southwest Yeah, I know.
I thought my little kindergarten stayed. I mean, I had a kindergarten. Laura. She was in our office. It's only about 20 years old.
I was turning back buttons.
I ordered them on Amazon because I didn't get a sticker when I got my mail.
These are my stickers, well, these are what they have stickers.
Yeah, no, they were yours.
I did get cards, I was there and I didn't get cards. Yeah, he's not big.
Yes. A sticker, but not
The name of the store or something?
And now you got one. And now you big
My
words.
son is in
These were the stickers they were giving out, the same design. And the first shot, because I got Pfizer, and the first one, I didn't get a sticker. And it was like, I love stickers, I like stickers, you know. And then the second shot, I still didn't get a sticker. Like, in the 15-minute waiting, and it was vaccination. So anyway, I see some lady walking by the stickers, and I'm like, where did she get those stickers? Well, they had them the whole time. They were on a table where nobody was around it, and you didn't walk past it. You had to know they were there in order to get them or ask for a sticker. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. So I went and I got a sticker, and I thought, I saw these on Amazon, and so I ordered
Well, he was the first person.
Yeah.
I mean, the students. They're veterans that get vaccinated. Me and the next day.
Yeah. I tried to get mine, and I was like, turned 65 in April. They would not give it to me before they knew I was being treated for breast cancer. They still, so my oncologist was like, well, this is ridiculous. I mean, even the hospital wouldn't help me. So I was like, all right. Anyway, then for government, so I was able to get a little bit of that.
Which is something to say with cancer.
She wanted me.
She wanted to.
Yeah, she absolutely when she wanted my money. And yeah, no, it's very, very good. And now they wanted to have her enrollment because she's never had something. I haven't had mine, but I'm going to get it. But yeah, no, they absolutely. In fact, they were
Well, you post on Facebook, but
it's already posted. Where have you been?
no.
Why did the body come back? Oh, no, I'm only posting things on
That's all they do.
Then you'll see if there's a nice picture of Stan here. I took this picture.
It's gonna be different. Well, they're gonna, they gotta spend it. They gotta apply for it, sign in all this executive orders. We're gonna have that here in the county.
We can't do both.
I'm not going to give them any. Yeah, right?
So he needs to change his thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
It was on NBC5. I didn't see it.
It's a fairly recent announcement, but some of us have known, at least suspected things. And you know, we're
Oh dear, I forgot about that part.
everybody knows. There's some real interesting things that happen here, but you can't see it.
Well, they can't even tell me.
Who's talking?
I know, that's why I
It's kind of nice. I'm gonna miss the mask.
You know what I found? That I talk to myself when I'm like,
Oh,
I know, I talk to myself, and I don't normally talk to myself, but ever since the mask has been on, I think I'm just sort of, what I'm saying about that, you know, or just things like, and I'm like, I'm kind of liking this, you know? And if I really want to be incognito, I put a baseball cap on and then I've got a mask on, and then I don't get a lot of sight.
I did have a comment.
No, they're already sworn in. What? They're already sworn in. They got sworn in. I know, but they sworn in. I said, are we all going to the party? Oh, we can still have a party. Well, we can, but there's no meeting on this. Oh, there's no meeting on this. Don't worry, we'll be announcing the meeting. You're going to have to watch your baseball. Because that's how it is. Yes. Well, just have somebody tell you. Just watch Facebook for the next week. Just watch for the next week. And they're all being posted. I mean, I'm the one who does say almost always. My colleague posts one of the ones, but you can always tell mine because they're pretty
Has the moment.
Yeah. Mine is more to the. So why do you have to go take care of it? Wait, so you just gave up helping your other
She said something like she has to walk home. She goes,
wait, so you're going to go pick this person up and drive her home?
I said, I said, once. I said, when I was home, and she likes to do it. She doesn't have a problem. She does a lot of walking.
It's nice that you do it. But you know, it's good. It's
I was just thinking maybe you could use something like that.
Oh, this is what this is.
I thought he was going to the bathroom.
No. But she's living someplace now.
Are you on a budget?
Oh, you did sell it? Are you homeless? Do you need?
No, not homeless, I'm New York City.
You make the decision to sell your property for as much as possible, so you can buy a better property for as much as possible.
Yeah, right. So I'm planning to do this is down here to live with me. We've been planning it for 2 years, I would never pass. I would save my condo.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, by the way, how's that lot? 250.
Yeah.
250, and it just sold for 173 years ago. That's what she bought it for.
It'll probably go over to.
Yes.
Oh.
I remember when I put the bid on the ranch house on Scott.
Yeah.
So that house was on the market for 189. They bought it for 190. And this was just a little over 2 years ago. They just sold it. They sold it. They sold it for 265. Doesn't start paying. Are you live around Scott over there in that area?
No, I live in Miami Creek where they don't even, they're for sale and 2 days later, 2 stakes are there.
My sister sold
Yeah,
over
that's
$500
crazy.
million in
Oh, for sure. It was.
We were supposed to sell this in 12 hours.
I wasn't bragging. It wasn't you.
Over $2 million sale in there, $2 million one.
Which one? Because I know there's the 899 that just sold.
Well, that one, that was.
Yeah, that was the only one.
That one, you're gonna fail because we have that one oversized. The one that's sold for $2 million, 917, 2017.
And guess what I got? Guess what I got? I had to buy it.
Those, right, those are all good.
That's what saved us.
But I don't get it just because
So you get us a 2021 payable in 2022?
21 tax.
right, yeah.
You pay our 21 tax.
It's okay, I'm not complaining about it.
No, so, and
No, you should. She's gonna brag about that anyway. That house is down from us.
I can't do it, I mean, I don't even raising her, I'm not kidding. I'm just.
Well, you can't, yeah.
No, if she
What's going to crash again?
This is 2000 years old. Well, they didn't crash, they just level off.
No.
Because
It's going to be, because this same thing happened in 2008.
But no, the housing market is different.
Yeah, mortgages.
but it was the financing was like.
But mortgages raising.
And
I got
you didn't give them.
They were.
Sorry, Joanna.
People lost their jobs. But the people who are getting mortgages don't find a job. And they're paying 3%. Yeah. So I even, I qualified to get by this great house because all 3%.
But he's still older than me. So, I mean, that's like, that's what he said, he said, well, we can afford it over here. But I don't need a mortgage, because like my house is going to be gone. So it doesn't matter if I have a 3% mortgage if I have a $1,000.
Right, you're the exception. Most people are saying, we've been wanting to move.
Right.
Now we can move to that bigger house
They like
at
to-
8%. It's about what it's It's 8% in a regular price.
Take our money.
But,
And the banks aren't getting greedy
you
yet.
know, the bank, well, the
Not
bank-
yet.
once interest rates go up, it doesn't mean the prices will just drop off. I mean, they might drop off early in the property, but people might stop buying. But there are.
I just want to see if she walked in and do it.
But you know why they're there.
Well, yeah, but.
No, you know why it's so much, I mean, why it's so popular right now? We're seeing a huge influx of people from the city.
Sure.
That's gonna take around once everything opens up.
Okay, so we're gonna buy the homes in Stillwater, okay?
Yeah,
I don't know where those people are.
I don't have a lot of homes, so that's
Well,
gonna
they've been there for
be.
many, many years, but still, the homes that they're building, they're not building under construction. Come on. We're. That's what they're buying existing homes. Even at 3%. Well, so it's not a building. It's a non-issue.
Whatever the houses go on the market for, they always sell for more than they go on the market. It's crazy.
It's insane. I truly, I'm not joking, because it goes. See what it sells for?
Well, she did open Friday.
didn't know it was open. I know his names, I don't have. So what I wanted to just, how much do those expenses? I have one shirt that says McHenry Township. Who made it? At your place?
My field people and I, they have that, I mean, everything is in the field. So you had just watched it, Facebook Live? Yes, several times.
See? You got 2 viewers.
There's one. Yeah, it's actually, it's been, no, several of us have, because people would come. You can see how many people.
Yeah, it's totally cheese.
See, Bobby Beatty is controlling she sends me the link, she's like, no, I didn't want to take that, it's just fine. She wants her Facebook. She wants she wanted.
We won Mexico for magazine too.
She wanted. I heard what I said, these guys. I don't think it's our idea to do it, so you do next one. She can tell you. Yeah, she has in the past, I think this last one I didn't ask. And then there's, I know about that, and please tell me that it will never have to stop there 40 views or something. Right. Personal. Well, it needs to be shared more than it is. You know, I just need to say. We're getting pretty on the website. I actually just need to say it's going to see that I understand. I'm going to say, because you guys did. Yeah, well, I posting these and all these, I can say, just don't.
You know, the president said that you have to wear masks, so that's why I'm not wearing masks. No, I didn't hear you say this. Did you have your mask on? I've got a card in my pocket that says I don't have to wear a mask.
Today, it's CDC changed. If you're vaccinated, you actually have to wear a mask.
That's true.
They just haven't changed anything yet.
Because I can.
Yeah, I know. So here's our stats. I just posted these things.
But it's so sick.
So we already have 600.
Today I was out,
We get a lot of them.
talk to them, explain things.
I will tell you. And I don't get on that very much. I really don't. Literally the last few months. I did. I like really like new house.
Everything since I was at
I went to Pennsylvania. My sister went to we were going to go. Yeah. So my sister grew up in those it's my friends from New York, and we went to university. That's my sister's it'll work out better than you guys hear.
about the reception. And they have computers, it's all access is so limited. So I did find out, even all through this, if you would call Walgreens and to stay on the board, they would take all the rest of the list numbers. So my mom, yeah, she didn't believe like she never have been able to figure out. She didn't even.
But now it's opened up almost everywhere.
Right, so you have all the seniors who were.
Well, and it's so confusing. You didn't call doctor, you call the health department, you call Walgreens, you
Well, then I have asked
Solve the world's problems.
It just says money.
What? Solving the world's problems.
We're talking about money, I guess.
What?
We're talking about you.
Talking about me? Yeah. What about me?
We were talking about housing. Houses and How you feeling? That's cute. That is really good. I don't know what's going to happen this year with collecting my pennies in, and I'm not going to get it. So I did go over to yeah, that's what I was thinking. Just ask, I'll go to ask. 20 people go. I might not take this up because the language company is there. So it's like, they always go through this big options. The mom, they need to get a mortgage, that's still a cost. They're not getting enough, as they want them up.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad you're getting that straightened out.
I don't know what the so nobody's all going to get get some sleep. Oh, gosh.
Easier to be out more too. Crazy weather though. I didn't even notice it. We're getting there. Stall forever. I'm hoping they are 6 to 10. I'm gonna.
If somebody comes out with a black eye, you know, and then policeman, and then no policeman.
Well, you know, one is Bob Anderson did one.
And that's why,
Stan goes into all of this, so you have to. There was what? Police lighting out there.
No policeman.
Oh, right.
I try to figure out
Collecting laptops. I am going to sit up there.
Now you're going to sit
No.
Oh, okay.
But it's bad.
I'm sure you will.
You have the right to face my
You're going to
accuser.
be a distraction.
Right?
Oh. Well, wait, they're not going to actually, are they going to make a decision on something?
No, but that's what the time Moody's in.
We're talking. It's just we meet for an hour, 4 times a year. I got my phone too, but mine has you get a research.
No, you know what, I was heading down to, I was going to, and when you're in those conferences, of course, long for COVID, you're in those conferences, you're going to get COVID. Yeah, I agree. And I didn't take any.
I have, I think it's probably the same one, only mine is like a dark color. But that's kind of like this color, not like black. And then I got a pink one.
Me too, actually, but thank you. And then it's got these little frustrated thumbs. Sometimes I like it. I was tired. I feel so cozy.
I know.
Especially this in between leather.
I love it. I see the windows of the I mean, the only time I shut it gets like, but otherwise I will. It's just so. Yeah, that's what I remember. So I can't, I really have it. I love just so.
Yes, both of them. We're hoping that maybe, of course, maybe senior services isn't enough to go out on your own, but.
I used to work next to
Yeah. Betty, I think she just does a little presentation for the personnel, but she's like, not really her person for the West area. She's still around somewhere.
No, I mean, I'm sorry, is she still the owner?
No, she's not the executive director anymore. Vicki Miller.
I think these guys love it.
Had to get a chance.
Oh, yes.
You okay, everybody? What?
I'm not staring. I don't want to hide from the
Yeah, I know, I didn't know you were here. I know, that's why I'm I'm sad, I'm honestly asking because somebody, well, a whole bunch of times the campaign is going to get.
All right, I'd like to reconvene this meeting at 9:16. Do roll call again? Need to do a roll call. First, we need to do another roll call with the reconvening.
Okay, trustees Anderson,
Here.
Rakestraw,
Here.
Beer,
Here.
Wojciechowski,
Here.
Adams,
Here.
all present.
Okay, we're to board member comments, 1 minute.
Well, we still have C and D to go over, so I think we've reached a compromise for a resolution. Mr. Adams can say it about conflicts of township.
Oh, yeah, okay. I would ask that in any situation where there could be a conflict, that the trustee would recuse himself from that vote.
I'm not trustee yet.
And when you or someone else might have a conflict, it would be a normal thing to recuse yourself.
So we're not saying one trustee, all trustees?
All trustees.
You mean like normal life?
No, you should
Right.
yourself.
Okay.
So a resolution to that effect.
You don't have to
No.
need a resolution, that's standard.
No, we don't need one. Okay.
What do you mean we don't need one?
Okay, first of all,
Okay, so
we don't even, it's not even on the agenda, Steve, so we can't.
Yeah, it is.
It's not.
No, it's not.
You do have on C and D,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you do have revision or adoption of a township resolution regarding conflicts of interest between township officials and township.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So somebody, if someone wanted to make that motion, they could certainly make that motion.
the very motion incorporating everything you said, Mr. Adams.
Can I ask,
That if there was a conflict, that the trustee would recuse himself, basically.
can I respond to your question to me?
Yes.
If we're not married, and we don't live together, I don't understand why I should abstain.
John, that's just not you as a trustee, it's any trustee.
Okay.
Okay,
Doesn't the township have a conflict of interest policy?
Look, we're not taking.
we do. We do have a conflict of interest policy.
Okay, so
So you already have
doesn't that address
I
it?
think it,
Actually, we don't. We have a
policy.
We have a nepotism policy, not a conflict policy.
They told them the definition of
Okay.
nepotism.
Oh, Steve, we're going to have a cronyism policy.
Exactly.
All right, now we're on to board member comments.
We don't need to put that on the agenda for cronyism policy.
Where are we at? Motion?
I know what we're putting.
Motion to incorporate what you said regarding if there's a trustee that has a conflict of interest, that they abstain from voting on potential conflict of interest.
Okay. So we have a motion to have a resolution that if a trustee has a conflict of interest, he would recuse himself from that vote, which would be common practice in mine. So we have a first on that, do we have a second?
First motion.
There's a second.
Second.
Okay, let's roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw?
Shouldn't we, if there's any discussion?
Any discussion?
You know, there's an order to be made here. Why is everybody making comments about this?
Because we're tired of you.
Nepotism is family. The definition of nepotism.
Because we
We're
have
not
a chairman
married.
that cannot control the crowd.
We don't have too many.
Can't control you. You keep talking on a turn. That's okay though, right?
No theatrics.
Yeah, you can
please,
talk
sir.
anytime you want. You can interrupt every
clerk was
person.
not recognized.
And that's all right.
Clerk, you were not
are the
recognized.
biggest
You're also not
hypocrite I have ever met in my entire life.
All right, let's move on. Do we have any further discussion?
Can I have the resolution number so we can vote to turn it down when I'm a board member?
Wow, that's cold.
What you're doing is hot, right? What you're doing is very good, isn't it? I haven't lived with Debbie in 5 freaking years.
Now what people signed in as their addresses, though.
And if you ask me the question, I'll tell you why. But no, you're afraid to even talk to me like a person.
Anyway.
We have a vote.
All right. Do we have any more discussion, Mike? Okay, let's call the vote. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Adams, no, I don't feel it's necessary. Mr. Ver?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
No.
Okay, passes. All right, now, let's move down to board member comments.
Don't worry, John, we know the definition of that.
Limit 1 minute.
Thank you.
Okay, none being heard?
I have a comment.
Okay, Mr. Wojcicki, go ahead.
I got 1 minute. I got my tax bill last week. $25 went to the township. $66 went to the road and bridge. And I compared that to last year's bill, and it's less. A grand total of $46 less for the whole year. So was that $46 worth 4 years of heartache, bickering, and was it worth it?
No.
You make the decision? I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
And nothing else.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Beer, 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
So every lawsuit that the township got involved in, whether through the direct actions of outsiders or actions of the township, we won. Ultimately, every single one. And I thank Mr. Militello and Mr. Hanlon for that. I think this board did what very few boards have ever done, which is live up to their promises. And we cut. Townships are a very bad deal for Illinoisans. That's why other states have gotten rid of them a long time ago. This stuff came in before the Civil War, and because of all the corruption, remains unchanged. Now, 17 counties in Illinois got rid of their townships in the Great Depression.
Okay, Mr. Beer,
And more should do so, because we're heading to another one.
All right, motion.
Okay, time is up. Anybody else?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to say it's been a real pleasure, a very, very real pleasure to serve the constituents of Mchenry Township in the last 4 years. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I'd like to say that what people don't understand, I believe, is that there's a fiduciary responsibility from a board to be watching over the dollars that are not freely given, that are confiscated every year to pay taxes. I don't get the whole notion that somehow keeping the tabs on what's being spent is a bad thing. I'm so appreciative of the fact of having the opportunity, as Bob said, to serve for 4 years and try to save money for the people of this township.
He didn't even do his taxes.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't there a year that you did not pay your taxes, and you're talking about?
Are you going to have order, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, order, please.
Truth hurts.
Okay.
It does.
With that, everybody's had a chance to speak. Move for adjournment. Do I have a second?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
You made the motion, okay?
I made a motion.
I'll second the motion to adjourn.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None being heard. Meeting is adjourned at 9:26.
Beer and Wojcicki, I can
The future goes on.
Yep.
Good night.
Everybody have a great night.
You too. Take care.
That's right there.
Hey, Mike, you're gonna bring that cord in then? Yeah. All right, perfect, thank you.
Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Or do. I don't care. Just leave. Huh? What was that?
Bye.
Run away! Go Pressure's on, dude. You okay?
I don't think it, I think that's a we could adopt maybe our law. There is no right. So that's something that maybe we can look into. But the fact that they were on the board, the way they got put on the board though was not before. That's what's really bad.
He threw it on the ground.
Did he? It's a trophy!
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you very much, Stan. Look forward to seeing you in the future.
He took it, he threw it on the ground. It's up to them if they want his or want theirs. He threw his. He discarded his.
Once it's on the ground, it's garbage, which means he has no claim to it.
6 months ago, they started.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't know if I was going to win.
I'm okay with this.
But if I did, I was either going to
Switch your dog for a second.
or resign.
Take a picture.
The only one that's retained is Craig, right? Craig's the only one that's retained technically, right? Because he was voted as supervisor, so he stayed with his four new trustees.
Right, exactly.
The two guys only count. Oh, I'm sorry, the trustees count too. Don't worry about it, I worry about what you do. We have trees outside.
You forget, he was one of the people that's been part of the fight until you get everybody to listen to the township people. He's going to listen.
I talked to somebody about laser, but everyone was just too late.
Do you like it? Oh, yeah.
Well, you got energy to complete beforehand.
I say, boy, man, what are you doing? You think I don't keep up on this? I have meetings.
That's worse.
Well, that's all amazing. 4 years of built-up frustration. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
And these are other ones that I don't I just had to verify if I had to say, this is all I can do.
Gary Barlow was sitting back there. And then the guy in the line with green shirt. That's Mark Gator. He's sitting here.
Right, okay.
That's Mark Gator. But I like what you do.
Is it same thing?
You stopped by or did you stop? Yeah. I wanted it all collector.
Yes, you're welcome.
That's right.
I got barefoot, so now I really go for good stuff, barefoot each.
There you go.
Tell them what you're going to do for tonight. What are we going to do with this stuff?
Debbie grabbed it. What? Town funds.
They don't want these? I'm sure Stan has.
What?
I bet you Stan would like his. Let's save Stan's for him.
He can have his.
Yeah. Is Stan still out there?
Did you take his?
No, first took his, but he threw it on the ground. Mike has it as a trophy.
He was a drug dog.
It would be mounted with 3 drive-through screws, you know.
Dan, I'll see you Monday morning. All right.
You said the 19th, right? Okay. I will be
Yeah, that's, I think, what Craig was worried about too. He's coming.